All right, welcome to SEC After Dark. I am your host, Stephen Willis, alongside Corey Burton. We're going to talk a little bit about SEC. We're going to talk a little bit about expansion. We're going to talk about a little bit about week one, and we're going to talk a little bit of beer. What do you got there, Corey?
Yazoo Pale Ale. This will be another live taste test for
Okay.
Yazoo Pale Ale. So, without further ado, I'm Corey Burton, by the way.
Yeah.
Here it goes. No, I'm just kidding. It's actually pretty good.
Okay.
And I thought I'd do the bitter beer face.
Yeah, I've got my Land Shark, and I always have that. And my cabinet back there is starting to get a lot of bottle caps from beers I've drank on the air. So that's great.
Nice. You're like I said, quite a collection.
Yeah.
So, I'm ready to rock and roll, man. There's some pretty cool stuff happening now, and we're closing in. We're probably 30 days away.
Yeah, fall camps are opening up. I think Ole Miss starts either tomorrow, the day after, or the day after. I've seen conflicting information on Twitter. There's kind of a media blackout at the moment, but that's just like the Nick Saban way. We always joke about Lane Kiffin. How he handles the media is very Nick Saban. How he handles the football program is very Pete Carroll.
Yeah, and it's the best of both worlds, really. So. I can't fault him for that. That's two great mentors to learn from, so why not, right?
Yeah. So just to let you know, we are a social media only show. So follow us, subscribe, like us, retweet us, do all that you need to do, and we'll be able to do that. I don't know. We'll be able to do this bigger and better down the road. We're on the podcast channel on Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, and Pandora. We're on smaller podcatchers as well, but if you do so, it'd take this whole show to list out, so we're not going to be able to do that. We're also on Twitter at the Stephen Willis and at Old Positively and at Coach Burton 36.
See you right below.
You can catch us on Facebook at facebook.com/Pomcast and at I think Believe in Georgia Dogs.
Just Believe in Dogs.
Believe in Dogs. And we're on YouTube at Positively Ole Miss and Believe in Georgia Dogs there. Subscribe to both of those. You'll be able to see this show each and every week. We're also on Twitch at Positively Ole Miss, all one word. And what's the address for Georgia? Do you share over there?
On Twitch?
Yeah.
I haven't figured out the Twitch world, I'll be honest. So
okay.
I think it's just Believe in Dogs. The Twitch link, just go on Twitch and search Believe in Dogs and you should find it. So, I haven't figured out Twitch yet. I have no idea if I have an audience over there or not, but hopefully I do. That'd be cool.
Yeah. I'm only like 8 or 9 people at the moment. We don't do a lot of stuff on Twitch. We're planning on down the road to do Twitch only events. So that could be something we could look at in the future. But as for the time being, the main place is like the YouTube. The Positively Ole Miss YouTube page, you can catch out press conferences, great games on demand. I mean, there's a lot of stuff other than just our shows there. So subscribe if you would.
Yeah, I'll probably I'm gonna get with you, Steve, and try to figure out how to link these press conferences so people can go and check them out. So like when you YouTube search it, maybe you'll click on my channel and then you'll say, "Oh, what else is here? Oh, Corey and Israel do a really good job. Yeah. Oh, and then there's SEC After Dark too. Yeah, go get it.
Yeah, all that stuff on the YouTube page. Our YouTube page is pretty kick-ass. I will admit that. So before we get started, this is going to be a weird day. So it's going to be a little bit of ACC After Dark, a little bit of Big 12 After Dark or Big 10 After Dark, and we're going to do a little SEC in the middle. So it's going to be a sandwich, but it's going to be more of a national show tonight. But it will be relevant to the SEC, and we'll explain how. But Corey, you doing all right tonight?
I'm good. We got done with practice. It's summertime. School's getting ready to start. So we're kind of in that weird, like we're still practicing sort of late in the afternoon. Not quite as late as we did last week because the heat wave is over for the most part. It's still hot. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like triple digit hot like it was last week. So we're able to practice at a normal time. Steve, are you familiar with Donaldson Christian Academy?
No, I'm familiar with Nashville Christian, but I have a feeling that's a different school.
It is a different school.
Hmm.
And we scrimmaged them yesterday. We had like a NFL style joint practice, which is always fun. So we hit that up and getting better, man. We're so young. We're really young. We're kind of like the Mississippi State of our league. Like we're extremely young and inexperienced. And the older guys we got, a lot of them have played limited football. So
With
it's
everything
been
that's
pretty
going on, by the way, with Mississippi, Florida, Alabama, Texas, all going through some things when it comes to this COVID stuff. What are you guys doing COVID related with them coming in for a joint practice?
Right now, there's not really any restrictions. I'm sure they screened their guys before they came over, but we're it's starting to kind of heat up here. We'll probably have some restrictions here pretty soon, but right now, I think we're just going to start with a mask mandate at school. I think that just came down not long ago, shortly before I jumped on with you, Steve. But Mayor John Cooper said there's a mask mandate for all government buildings. Some businesses are following suit. Metro Nashville Public Schools is going to follow suit. So that's going to get interesting.
I think Ole Miss and State have an indoor mask mandate that they released today as well. So, and I assume Southern Mississippi because all the institutes of higher learning kind of do their things together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because in Mississippi, unlike other places, there's only one board of regents for every public university. That's the IHL. So it's basically the same board of regents for Ole Miss State, Southern, Mississippi Valley, Jackson State, the whole 9 yards.
The International Hockey League. What does the NHL's minor leagues have to do with?
Institute of Higher Learning.
Mm. International Hockey League. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
But let's get started. It looks weird looking at the bottom three and what we're going to be talking about, but I do want to talk about Notre Dame and Peacock.
Rock chalk, baby.
Well, that's coming up a little bit later. But Notre Dame and Peacock, and basically through their television contract that Notre Dame has had through the years, they've been on broadcast television on NBC proper forever. This will be the first year that one of their games goes over to a pay service like Peacock. It is the modern day version of pay-per-view, you might want to say, except it's not going to be quite as expensive as the days when we were paying $40 to watch Ole Miss in South Carolina in 2004. But you go over, you catch it, that's where the sporting event's going to be. This Peacock is going to be a major role with NBC. It's going to replace the NBC Sports Network. And the same thing is happening on ESPN with ESPN Plus. And the reason I bring that up is because the new SEC contract states that one game a year will be available on ESPN Plus. So it's a similar type deal. And I think this is the future of college football on these streaming services and on over-the-air broadcasting. Not necessarily cable. It's going to be streaming individually and over-the-air.
Yeah. Wow. That's it's getting pretty advanced now, man. It's I think it's interesting and seeing kind of where it goes. I mean, the way the world is going to like streaming is going to dominate here pretty soon. Kind of like the way podcasts have taken off because people like on-demand radio now. So people are going to like their TV on demand. Like you're seeing all these big shows pop up on Netflix and Amazon Prime and Hulu where it's just on the streaming platform. You're seeing all these networks band together. Paramount Plus, Peacock, Discovery Plus, Disney Plus, and you're going to see all these people come together and a lot and broadcast TV will always have a place.
Mm-hmm.
Just like broadcast radio terrestrial FM radio will always have a place, but it's not going to be the preferred place. And you're going to see a lot of people getting their TVs and shows on demand, and the age of binge watching is upon us.
Yeah, and if you look at the new SEC, ESPN, Disney deal that is going down, they're basically going to create more primetime games for SEC teams at night, basically recreating that 2:30 CBS game, but as a primetime option, which means on ESPN, there's going to be more 11 o'clock kickoffs. Everybody needs to get ready for that. There's going to be 2:30 kickoffs because they're going to want their primetime window to be primetime. But instead of Alabama, LSU, it's going to be a more frequent occurrence whenever there's a game that justifies doing that.
Yeah, and I enjoy that. I think that's good as well. You get as many eyes on the conference as possible. So I'm all for it, man.
Yeah, it's a huge thing. I'm a subscriber for Peacock, so Notre Dame going there doesn't affect me. I'm a subscriber to ESPN Plus. That doesn't affect me. Also, for the time being, I put this out on my other show. I want to put it out here. I am not 100% sure how they're going to do this, but the ESPN Plus game of non-conference games starts this year. The Ole Miss Austin P game is on ESPN Plus. Now, I do not know at this point if it's on SEC Network Plus as well. If it is on SEC Network Plus as well, you can watch it the way we always have on the streaming side of the house. But if it's only on ESPN Plus, you will need that package, and that'll be $5 or $6 to do that. And it's like I said, it's the new wave pay-per-view. Have you heard either way on that?
I have not. I haven't heard it either way, but there's a chance it could also be on SEC Plus minus, where even if you have every subscription, you still can't watch it, like the spring games.
No, I think that's the Big 12 contract.
Well, apparently the SEC signed it during the spring, so I guess we got a little preview of the Big 12 package. So I'm glad I wasn't taking a sip there. I would have spit it out.
Yeah. How do you view this streaming service and like the Notre Dame and Peacock News and like I just said with the SEC ESPN Plus? 10 years down the road, crystal ball it. Where do you see this going?
I see it like every once in a while you feature a game broadcast and streaming, but 10 years from now, you'll just be able to pull out your phone and watch any game you want. And basically, you could all have them all kick off at the same damn time and watch games at your fingertips. But, it's going to be like it is now. It's just going to be more prominent and more featured. Like, they're going to feature the streams because people are so busy and people's attention spans are so short. They want that stream right there. People are going to want it on the go. It's going to be a more transient community as we progress through life. So they're gonna market it that way. That's going to be the newest trend. It's going to be everything's going to be transient. Everything's going to be made to be on this thing.
Yeah. Now, we're going to touch on expansion at the end, but it's kind of amazing that expansion this time, only 10 years after the last major expansion happened, that now it's more about brand. It's more about streaming ability. Can you give me certain numbers of eyeballs of fans that watch your games as opposed to certain numbers of cable subscriptions inside your state? It's really cool that even in 10 years, all of this changed.
Yeah, and I think, honestly, the NFL should follow suit because, I think they should get in the streaming business because this whole deal, this antiquated deal of like, I can only watch the Titans in my area is absurd. Like you should, like if the NFL really wants to market to eyeballs and not markets, they should go streaming and they should make every game available like college does. And I think because you have fans all over the place, like cities like Atlanta are very transient. You have probably, I think every team has a significant fan base represented in the city of Atlanta. Why can't somebody that just moved from Phoenix to Atlanta watch the Cardinals every week? Mm-hmm. Like, why can't they do that without having to subscribe to DirecTV? Like, that's the only way they can get DirecTV or the Sunday Ticket thing. They should have a tier, something like on NFL.com. Like, even just make a tier to where like you pay like $5 a month for the NFL game plan and you get all the games. Like, it should be like the NFL makes enough money that they can take that and they can do that. Or the deal with Amazon Prime, like make all the games available on Amazon Prime. Like, you have to get Amazon Prime to watch these games.
Yeah.
Like, why not do something like that? Like, it would be so easy, and it would probably attract way more fans. Like, I've kind of fallen out of favor with the Atlanta Falcons because I cannot watch them on a regular basis. Like, it's kind of like forces me to be a Titans fan, which I don't really like to be forced to be a fan of anybody. But, it like Saints games. Like you want to be able to watch Saints games in Central Florida.
Yeah.
Because you're still a Saints fan, I presume.
Oh, yeah.
And you can't do that. With college, like, you can do that. Like, there's no blackouts. There's no, like, no matter where you are, you're going to get to see your game. Like,
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
when I joined the military when I was 23, so good grief.
Overseas, yes. Great example.
Yeah, and you go overseas. You were at the mercy of AFN. Now, granted, we got 4 games a day when everybody else was stuck with 3, but it was still completely random. You know, you might see the Seahawks playing the Chargers, or something like that. It's still rare to see the Saints game, and whenever you're moving around, like to Philadelphia, and there's only so many Eagles games you can watch. And you move overseas, it's completely random. And then when I came back, I was up north, so it was Titans for the northern Mississippi area, then to Tennessee, the Titans, and now in Central Florida is, and all Buccaneers all the time. Although on CBS, I am looking forward to, on CBS, I get the Dolphins game, which that means the Tua and Jalen Waddle show, and I am very much looking forward to that this season.
You might be a convert. I wouldn't be surprised. You're going to be wearing that teal.
The Miami Dolphins, believe it or not, they were my first team. Before one settled in, they were my first one. I had one of those old Hutch Dan Marino jerseys back from 1983, 1984.
Yeah, I had one of those. I had a 49ers one, and I had a Broncos Elway one.
Yeah. And it was real cool. And then you run into the wall with a helmet, and you find out real quick that the helmet didn't do anything.
Yeah, and I really didn't care what team it was. I just thought it was cool that I got the helmet, got to run into stuff.
Yeah. That's the one thing that nobody tells you about, that this is really just for self-violence, and this is a way to start that CTE early.
Yeah, it explains a lot now.
Yeah,
because
a
little story time here. I'm at my teacher PD, right, and we're doing this like new teacher mentor program, and they go around and ask, hey, what's your name? What's your, tell us your name, tell us a couple hobbies or whatever. So, it gets to me, and, one of my hobbies is doing this, obviously, podcasting. And my other hobby, and you're going to see where this is going as soon as I tell you, my other hobby is using my Traeger smoker to smoke meat and other dishes. So I probably phrase it the worst way you could possibly phrase that. I like smoking meats on my Traeger. That's exactly what I said. The whole room died laughing because they thought I said I like smoking weed. Yes.
At a public school meeting, no doubt, too.
A public school meeting. So the setting wasn't great. My principal's in there, but luckily they all had fun with it. But, man, I didn't, and at first I didn't realize that they heard it that way. Like, I just like, what? Why is everybody like dying laughing? And I was like, oh shit. I said weed. It sounded like I said weed, but I didn't. I said meat. I said meat. But
maybe they just wanted to hear weed.
Maybe so. Probably so. But yeah, it was one of those where you're just like, okay, I'm gonna crawl in a hole for a little while.
All right. Well, since this show is SEC After Dark, maybe we should go into some SEC games. And there's no games on week 0. And we're going to talk about some games that we're really looking forward to week 1. And I will start with Tennessee and Bowling Green. Josh Heupel and the guys. Who's going to take the first snap under center? It's the first SEC game of the year.
Yes, it is. And it's exciting because it's a new era for Tennessee. They're going to get their first look at Heupel and his offense. And, of course, with Heupel, much like what Scott Frost is actually struggling with, is that style of play sustainable in the SEC? Yes and no. He's got to modify it and obviously adjust it to the level of play in the SEC. He can't do the same things he did at UCF exactly. He's going to have to modify it because the athletes are better and the coaching is better in this league. So you're going to see kind of what it looks like, how he modified it, what's going on with this Tennessee team. And is it Harrison Bailey? Is it the other cats? Is it Hendon Hooker? Is it Joe Milton? Who is it?
Yeah, and that's a nice quarterback room. I look for one of these guys to completely opt out and transfer before 4 games hits, because there's no way that one of those guys can handle it. Maybe you can keep a backup, because they still have what is his name? I almost called him Joe Mauer, but that was a baseball player. But
Brian Mauer.
Brian Mauer. They still have him. That's a fantastic quarterback room, and they may have issues in other positions but that room is not one of them.
Yeah, no, and I think one of them will probably at halftime go over and play for Bowling Green just to get some snaps. But if you like the color orange, this is the game for you too, as well.
Yeah,
So,
Bowling Green with that brown though. Oh,
what a color combo!
yeah. I hope they go all white with it and then the orange helmet, because if they go white and brown, though, there's two Cleveland Browns, and I think Bowling Green's in Ohio, so it makes sense that color scheme would fit. But
Hmm.
that color scheme needs to die in a fire.
It does. It does.
Yeah, yeah.
It does. And I hope Tennessee goes highlighter, and I hope Bowling Green goes all white. What about this next game? I'm kind of intrigued to see what I mean. Like, they're playing UL Monroe, so it's not. But I'm interested to see kind of who starts a quarterback for Kentucky too. I mean, they have a situation. They got Bo Allen, they got Joey Gatewood, and they got Will Levis that comes in. That is apparently, according to my man Vinny Hardy, he's the guy that's most in tap with Jamie Cohen, the new offense coordinator. And I'm interested to see kind of how do they implement this new concept called the forward pass.
Interesting to see. I'm interested to see also in this game that brings that. This is Terry Bowden with Rich Rodriguez for the first time since Tulane on the
Oh,
same field, like 1999. Uh,
oh,
will some magic happen? Will Louisiana Monroe make some plays? Now, we know it's going to be a run based system, but Rich Rod does a lot of weird things. You saw that at Ole Miss a couple of years ago.
hmm,
And he can cause problems for a defense, and you'll get to see the opposite arm rollout throw the ball vertical, which you do not see in modern football anymore.
no, you don't. It's a lost art. But
Mm.
on the SEC plus minus network is Arkansas taking on Rice. Arkansas just want to see him get some reps. Just want to see the new quarterback get some reps. Want to see if they can maintain their physicality and see if they've improved a little bit.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing KJ Jefferson with Traylon Burks and how they work together in the early games. These are get right games at the beginning of the season. You need to develop that chemistry. You need to work on those reps and make it as crisp as possible, because once the Alabamas and the Georgias and the Ole Misses come down the line, there's not going to be a lot of room for improvement. So you need to get right as quickly as possible, and it could be the difference in winning 4 games and winning 6 games.
Exactly. But you know who didn't get the memo was Miami. They start off with Alabama. That game is a 3:30 Eastern kick on ABC. That'll be a big game in your area. A lot of buzz, Steve, on that game.
Hmm.
Bryce Young. How do they replace all that firepower with Alabama? What's Bill O'Brien's offense looking like? Are they in sync defensively? Again, Pete Golding comes back for a second year. Did he learn something? Can they improve? They struggled at the start of last year, came together, and actually finished the season really, really well. But can they keep that momentum going, or it's just them replacing too many people finally going to bite them in the ass?
Derek King running that offense. It's a combination of the Auburn run game and the air raid that they do down at Miami.
Yeah.
And it has the potential to cause some problems for Alabama. If their offense with Bryce Young and John Mechie and Brian Robinson and those guys are struggling to get going, this could be a tight fourth quarter game.
It could be.
I
It
think
could be.
Alabama's going to win the game. I think they have a better team. But this is one of those games that could be a hiccup. It could be a problem for Alabama.
Yeah, you're. This is not an Alabama team that they're rolling in. I know they're number one in the country, but they're not rolling in like the same number one that they normally roll in. This is kind of like their reputation is preceding them type season. So we're going to see what they're all about. You know, Nick Saban, he's going to have them ready. They're going to play hard. We all know that. But there's only, as I said before, there's only so many times you can have this much staff turnover and this much talent turning over before it affects you.
Yeah, eventually it's going to come back to get you every time. This is unbelievably consistent. This is almost as consistent as whoever the next coach at Alabama. There's going to be a drop off because
Hmm.
there's just certain things you can count on, and one of those is chaos and the coaching staff is eventually going to get into your playing staff, your
Yeah.
players.
I got an idea for Alabama. Hear me out here.
Okay.
Hire me. You can pay me $1 million and then give me a contract for $2 million for 2 years. Buy me out. My buyout's $1 million. Fire me after one season,
That
and
works.
I'll bridge the gap, and I'll have $2 million.
Yeah, there we go. That sounds like a plan to me.
All right, Alabama, you're listening. Good, let's do it.
Yeah, and they have so much talent, and they're dropping in recruiting NIL stuff. The Bryce Young $1 million thing, that was absolutely a recruiting plug that Nick Saban did at a Texas high school football camp. So it'll be interesting. I am curious to see Bryce Young because he did not get the normal Alabama quarterback playing time last year. It was mostly Mac Jones, and he didn't even get the level that Mac Jones got when Tua was the guy.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's going to be the timing of it's going to be interesting. So, yeah,
Yeah. Georgia and Clemson. I know you're looking forward to that game. I'm looking forward to that game. We'll go the other way with it a little bit. Clemson has to replace Trevor Lawrence. They have to replace Etienne. There's a chance for a hiccup there, and they haven't been recruiting at the level of somebody like Alabama. So the chance of a drop down, not necessarily in the ACC, just period, is quite possible. And I look for Georgia and all their expectations to have a pretty good game here.
yeah. I mean, it's going to be insane. Like for Clemson, I mean they've got some talent. I mean, they got Justin Ross coming back. He's as good of a receiver as anybody in the country. And over on Illegal Motion, we finally got back together. We did an ACC preview, and Justin Ross is one of the premier not only in the ACC but in the entire country. So Georgia's going to have to find a way to shut him down. They're going to have to find a way defensively against Clemson to move the ball with Brent Venables. Brian Breezy's one of the best defensive linemen in the country. He's a 6'3", 300-pounder that's just a beast up front. Of course, Skalski comes back for his 9th year. He's probably going to target somebody and get ejected. That's kind of what he does.
Yeah, that's his
MO. That's his MO. But for Georgia, like I said, with the wide receiver position, there's going to be a dude. There's a dude in there somewhere. I don't know who it's going to be, when it's going to be, and how it's going to look. But there's going to be somebody that steps up in the place of George Pickens. And it might be a committee thing. It might be 1 week Marcus Rosemary-Jackson. It might be Jermaine Burton 1 week. It might be Kierce Jackson 1 week. Well, it might go half to half. It might be Eric Gilbert for a half. And then here comes Arian Smith. You never know with the receivers who it's going to be. But that go-to guy will emerge. I want to see how they develop the receiver room. I want to see what the running situation is like. How do you utilize 4 running backs like they've been able to do? Defensively, how nasty is that front 7 going to be? Jordan Davis is scary good, and Devontae Wyatt just squatted 600 pounds in their latest max session. So that ain't bad. And he's a guy that rotates in on defensive line. So the linebackers speak for themselves. The secondary. How do the veterans mix with the inexperienced guys and the freshmen? You got a couple. You got a couple sophomores, redshirt freshmen like Keely Ringo. Like how does his experience mesh in there?
Yeah, and I'm really curious to see JT Daniels because he likes to throw the ball over 20 yards downfield. Mm-hmm. Is his guy going to be Jermaine Burton? Is they're going to attack the slot? Is that a Todd Monken thing, like it is Lane Kiffin, or is he going to concentrate outside with what he's doing? And also, my question is, will Kirby take his thumb off the defense? I need to see it. I know it's being said, but I need to see it happen.
Yeah, I think everybody it'll just put him at ease if we take a shot on the first play. We know what the answer is, but I think he will. I think it'll be more dynamic, more explosive. I think he's finally got all his pieces. I think he finally feels comfortable. Kirby seems relaxed. He seems really relaxed. Anytime you hear him talk, he's always seems like he's in a good mood. There's, early in his tenure, he was always very cranky with the media, very short, very whatever, very gruff sometimes, especially during camp. But the dude's like at ease, and it's kind of scary.
Yeah, and like I said, it's easy to do that on August 4th, but after 2 weeks of camp and maybe, a player is out for a week, nothing serious. He's just out of practice for a week. How is he going to take that? That's what we need to look at when it comes to Kirby Smart, and will that cause him to pull back on the offense?
Yeah.
That stuff like that, the unintended consequences. He wants everything to be hunky dory, but whenever the chips are down, will he do it? Because it'll be so easy to revert back to what he's always been.
Yeah, exactly. So it'd be interesting to see. They start hitting some big plays. They start doing some things. They've got weapons now. They just got to use them. You can't be scared to use them because nowadays, if you don't use them, you lose them.
Yeah, absolutely. And Georgia's going to be one of those teams that used to, they could redshirt a guy and he'd play in year 3 and be a guy. Now in year 1 or year 2, he's going to transfer away because he wants to be able to make money and get on the field and improve his brand.
Exactly. So we shall see what happens. I'm interested to kind of see, the quarterback battles through camp. How does the backup situation happen? Is there going to be a package for Brock Vandegrift? Is there going to be something that he can sink his teeth into if it fits within the game plan? I'm interested to see that. Like with this new NIL, you're going to see a lot of teams trying to satisfy their backup quarterback so they don't leave.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot of like 2 quarterback systems.
Yeah, they're going to, I think, not to change it, but like at Ole Miss, Luke Altmaier is absolutely going to play this year to a maximum of 4 games possibly. And then the other guy is going to go. There might be 2 second-string quarterbacks depending on where we are at the moment.
Yeah, like if it's mop-up duty, then it's probably going to be Carson Beck. If it's like something scenario, I mean, Carson Beck might even go out and win the backup job. We don't know. Like he might beat up. Like we got some talented quarterbacks in that quarterback room, so you're going to kind of see kind of a new way of doing things with the quarterback situation. I'm kind of interested to see that with NIL going on. So, but yeah, Georgia Clemson, man, that's obviously for obvious reasons that's going to be the favorite game for me and my wife. My wife is a Clemson grad, so that'll be interesting within our house.
Yeah. What about LSU and UCLA? Week 1 going to the West Coast.
Fun matchup. I love that matchup because you never see something like that. I hate Chip Kelly. I think he's a turd Ferguson, but this game is going to be fun. And to see LSU play in the Rose Bowl in a Pac-12 game against Chip Kelly, Chip versus Ed O, interesting coaching matchup for sure. See what LSU can bring to the table offensively. Who's starting? Probably Max Johnson now. I think something happened with Miles Brennan injury-wise. So
he broke his arm. Yeah, he's definitely out. It's definitely Max Johnson.
Yeah, that sucks for Miles. Yeah, I read something the last time I read about that. It was possible, but yeah, broken arm definitely out. Yeah, I think we're gonna see what Jake Peets has with this offense. See if they can recreate the magic there that they had in 2019. That's gonna be really difficult to do because
they can't.
Because you don't have Jefferson and Chase and Moss and Burrow and Clyde Edwards-Helaire and
Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Thaddeus Moss made that offense go. It wasn't wide receivers; it was those 2 guys and what they could do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were just unstoppable. So, can Edo right the ship? I don't know that he can, but this will be the first time that we get to see him try. Ole Miss, Louisville. That's a game that, for Satterfield at Louisville, that's an important game for him. If he wins that game, I think Louisville can have a really, really nice season in the ACC. I don't see it happening. We previewed Louisville. Malik Cunningham, he's nice, he's good, but they have nothing.
Yeah, he's like a Walmart Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. They have nothing. Like, I would probably rather put the statue that they're getting ready to build of Lamar Jackson on the field for Louisville this year, because that might give me a better chance if I'm them. Louisville's in a tough spot, man. They're going to struggle. And Ole Miss, this is going to be a fun game for Ole Miss because I think it's going to Ole Miss might come out slow to start, where it's kind of like, okay, we just came off fall camp. We're not quite in sync yet because a lot of Lane Kiffin stuff is timing.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first game and the first few series of the season are generally pretty, I don't want to say sloppy, but like not as well timed as later on. And you're going to probably get out of the first quarter going, oh boy, Ole Miss is in trouble. And then next thing you know, they're going to win by 35 points. So
Yeah, I
this is going to
think
be fun.
Yeah, I think that Jerry and Ely is going to be a major factor in the opening game. Watch him. I think he's going to be very explosive. They're going to use him like Reggie Bush. I'm not calling him Reggie Bush. They're going to use him like Reggie Bush. And you're going to see him and John Rice Plumlee on the field at the same time, alternating in the slot and at running back, to where you have the same type personnel, but you don't know where those guys are going to line up.
Do you think Sean Payton is an Ole Miss fan now because of John Rice Plumlee?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a chance. I think Bill Belichick is an Ole Miss fan at the moment because there is absolutely a chance he turns into Julian Edelman at the next level, and he just absolutely takes that slot position by storm. He showed out in the Outback Bowl in the last drive of the game. He made play after play after play. And he's just a gamer, man. Whenever a play needs to be made, you can count on that kid, and that counts for football. That counts for baseball. If there's something that needs to be made, he can make that play.
Now, do you think he goes MLB?
I don't know if he does. He needs to solidify himself a little bit more. He's a good player, and he progressed mightily from his freshman year to his sophomore year. But I need to see what year 3 looks like for him. If he's a 300 hitter, 290 hitter, he's good enough defensively to where he will get drafted.
Okay. And then he can go play the Edelman role. So Vanderbilt on the SEC minus network. They don't even get a plus network. Battle for state supremacy with East Tennessee State. This is their first battle in the quest for state championship for Vanderbilt. Clark Lee, do they have numbers yet?
No, this year's going to be difficult, but this is a game that they can win. And it will be something like 24-7. That'll be the score line of this game. Ken Sills is a great piece. The running back, I forget his name. He had a hyphen name. Good player. You put those two together, there's probably enough pieces. Offensive line and defensive line for an SEC school is going to be greater than an FCS school.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see where they can do that and they can get off on the right foot.
Yeah, and you'll have a good taste in your mouth watching this Vanderbilt team. Even though the score will be like, man, we only beat them by this much. But you'll see they're going to play hard. They're going to figure some things out. They're going to be sloppy at times. But I think you're going to get a good taste in your mouth from Vanderbilt, and you're going to leave that game kind of encouraged. I'll tell you who's going to leave the game encouraged is Texas A&M. They get a little week 1 maction against Kent State. That's going to be who starts at quarterback for A&M. I say Haynes King. You say not so fast. Not necessarily not Haynes King, but Calzada has something to say about it. What do you make of this game? Obviously it's going to be a blowout, but and they're both probably going to play. Do you think this game? Do you think somebody solidifies a job before? Do you think this is the first? Do you think this is like the final exam for the quarterback position going into week 2?
I think so. Now Kent State is for their division or their conference not really a pushover. I think they run a little bit of that Dino Babers version of the Baylor offense. So it can cause a little bit of problems.
That's kind of like the standard Maction offense.
Yeah, and you run that offense it's one of those games to where if Calzada or King are not, they're struggling and they can't seem to put it together, Texas A&M could struggle at the beginning of the season. This could be a game that they win 24-17, 24-21, or it could look a little bit like the Vanderbilt game last year that they eked out. But I do think Texas A&M is going to win the game. But I am wary about a new quarterback after the Jeremy Johnson thing. You can hype up a quarterback all you want to. I need to see it on the field, because if they don't put together what needs to be put together, I mean, it could be a disaster for those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of disaster at the quarterback position, Florida welcomes FAU. I don't think they have anything to worry about in this game because it's Willie Taggart. But what does Florida look like? Does Emory Jones? Does he? What does he bring to the table? How do they balance the run versus the pass? Are they truly going with the old school Mullen offense, or are they going to stick with the Kyle Trask system? And are they going to combination both? Are they going to, what are they going to do? Are they going to struggle? Is Todd Grantham going to be able to stop somebody on third down, first down, or even second down at this point? What does Grantham get fired at halftime? Who knows? Like, what's going to happen in this game? I'm definitely not going to watch it because it's the same time as the Georgia game. So I would definitely not have eyes on this one. So for SEC After Dark that next week when we're recapping this game, I'm definitely just reading the recap.
Yeah, and this is one of those games that Florida needs to win by 60, because Emory Jones needs to be the quarterback for 3 quarters at least. And you need to run your offense, and you need to score, and you need to score, and you need to score because of timing. You don't need to do anything special. You don't need to run the Kyle Trask offense with him because it will look good against FAU. You need to run what you're going to do. You need to get ready for Alabama immediately.
Yes, and they should. And they're going to – and they may struggle with some of the timing. And Emory Jones just might not be the answer. Who knows? We'll find out, I guess, right? South Carolina, Eastern Illinois, it's just a chance to get South Carolina to play. That'll be –
that's a W, and there's not many of them on the schedule.
Exactly. Auburn welcoming Akron. Some other early action on the SEC Plus, ESPN Plus side. Brian Harson's first attempt at it. Does Bo Nix become more consistent? How do they replace the wide receivers that they lost in the draft, especially Seth Williams? Does Tank how much does Tank Bixby? How much of a role does he play? Does Auburn remember that they have a tight end, which Mike Bobo's there, so I assume they won't forget. Defensively, are they going to pick up where they left off? Is Smoke Monday going to get ejected for targeting? Essential questions.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. The main takeaway from this game is that Zip is apparently a kangaroo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And they got some action. They should, I would be worried if they played this game on a Wednesday because, Wednesday night action. Akron probably have a really good chance of winning this. But speaking of, is there like a MAC SEC challenge? Because Missouri welcomes the Shark Humper and Jim McElwain. That's going to be, Cameron Bazelak. What does Eli Drinkwitz look like in year 2? What is this team defensively? Are they going to improve? Are they going to be less of a mess? Are they, offensively, does Chisholm, does he emerge as one of the top weapons in the conference? How does this Missouri team look? I think if they, for Missouri, if they're going to have a good season, they need to come out of the gates hot in this game. They need a 50 burger Central Michigan, and then we'll start taking them seriously.
Yeah, there's certain teams that certain benchmarks have to be hit. Missouri does not get and have the season that they want to have by struggling in this game. So they need to convincingly beat them. Bazelak and Beatty need to have a big game, and I'm looking forward to seeing whether or not that defense can stifle that Shark Humper on the other side.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's chum in the water. No. A matchup that's intriguing because Louisiana Tech is not your standard Conference USA team. They are dangerous. And Mississippi State, they still lack experience. They're still very, very young. When Mike Leach was asked at SEC Media Days, what's one thing you can do to get better? And he said, get older. So they're still young. They're the youngest team in the conference. So for Mississippi State, they're going to have some adversity in this game, right? They're probably going to trail at one point. There's probably going to be a run of play where they're not very good. They're going to have to kind of figure out a way to turn that around and win this game. Because if they don't, then that's when the wheels come off. Like if you can't overcome adversity against a team like Louisiana Tech, what's it going to be like in Baton Rouge on Saturday nights? How's that going to go down? So for Mississippi State, they've got to start learning how to get experience against good quality ball clubs. And Louisiana Tech is just that. It's a game that you can and should win, but it's also a game that can test you and gut check you at several points throughout the course of that ball game.
Yeah, Mississippi State, they need to go against a drop 8 coverage from the beginning. They don't need to run against it. They need to throw against it. They need to treat this like practice. There's going to be problems with doing that because Louisiana Tech is a heck of a team. Mm-hmm. But it's important that you do that because other SEC teams are going to do that. We don't know. We don't know if Will Rogers or Jack Abraham is going to be the man calling signals at this point. I think it's going to be Will Rogers. He's a good quarterback. But Jack Abraham had a good season at Southern Mississippi and used his transfer year to go up there. So it'll be interesting to see how Mike Leach does that because he has a little bit of that Steve Spurrier mindset of I'll just send a quarterback in every other play and we'll be fine because they need to do the same job that the other guy needs to do. And just like wide receivers on the outside, it just doesn't matter. But if Mississippi State were to run the ball and just focus on running the ball and just, they do the inside zone thing, the outside zone thing. If they were to do that, they have the athletes to roll Louisiana Tech. I just don't know if that will help them.
Yeah, Mississippi State just needs to find balance, man. I mean, and when I say balance, like it's all relative. Like Auburn's balance is going to look way different than Mississippi State's balance. Like Mississippi State, if they can run successfully 25% of the time, they're going to be really dangerous. They're going to be really good because their offense is predicated to, putting guys in conflict and reading space and making you cover, quote, every blade of grass, cover all 53 and a half yards width and cover the whole field vertically. So you're already putting guys in space and putting guys on islands. If you're able to run against some of these defenses, teams can't sit there and play drop 8. They have to commit people to the box because you're successful. One of his most successful seasons at Washington State was when they had Max Borghi and Gardner Minshew. Like Borghi wasn't this All-American running back, but he was successful enough to do some things out of the backfield and in the inside zone run game. And they had a couple inside screens for him. And he was pretty good. He was functional in that offense. And they had a successful offense. Unfortunately, their defense was kind of terrible and they couldn't get over the Huskies hump. But they were a 10-win team for Washington State, that's like unheard of.
Yeah, and you just don't need to get greedy and try and force it through, and there's a chance that could happen. If you get greedy, you could get got by Louisiana Tech. If you fail to run the ball at all and just rely completely on the passing attack, you could get got by Louisiana Tech. They're a team that could get Mississippi State in the opener. And NC State in week 2, man, Mike Leach could have a problem at the beginning of the year.
NC State has one of the best offensive lines in the ACC. They're a team that's pretty freaking dangerous, and you can't mess around with that. You're going to have to – Mississippi State's going to have to win a shootout against NC State. That's going to be a fun game to watch week 2 because I really like this Wolfpack team and this is the first time I've said this in a long time. Since they had Phillip Rivers and Torrey Holt. This is the first time I've said this about NC State. So, yeah. They might be the best team in the ACC not named Clemson.
Ooh, over North Carolina and Miami.
Yeah, I think Miami's – I don't think they're deep enough. But I think up front NC State is just as competitive as those teams.
How's NC State on the defensive line for our ACC After Dark segment?
pretty solid. They've got some playmakers in the front 7, especially at the linebacker level. They have several preseason all-conference guys at the linebacker level. So, they're going to be pretty good.
Okay. Do we have any other SEC games this weekend?
That's it. That's pretty much the whole conference, right?
Yeah, I think we did it all. We can talk about Kansas and the Big Ten next. and this will be our expansion segment that we will pretty much do throughout the season as news breaks. But rumors broke that they're in advanced negotiations with the Big Ten. And yeah, obviously that's for basketball, and that is pulling the chain on this. But
and that's doing a solid for Lance Leopold too. He's
yeah, yeah, and when this happens, this is it for brands in the Big 12, because the rest of the guys, the other 7 teams, I know Baylor won a national championship in basketball.
Yeah,
but honestly, no conference is going to take Baylor because of the dirt that's on them at the moment.
Yeah,
and you just see something. You got Kansas, the Big Ten, Iowa State to the Big Ten that's low hanging fruit. Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, TCU, and Kansas State to the Pac-12. And then you got Baylor going to the American, I think. And I think that's how this is going to shake out. I know there's people trying to blame the SEC and ESPN and all this stuff that's going on. But I think at the end of the day, this is how this is going to shake out.
Yeah. I'm not surprised. But I think Kansas adds an element of basketball to the Big Ten. And the Big Ten, now we know, it was speculated, but now we know how high regard they hold the sport of basketball. And, Kansas apparently has enough in that sport to kind of offer them some access to that conference. And also, apparently, Kansas must be a pretty good research school, because they pride themselves into inviting elite research schools and programs.
Yeah,
so,
their AAU is Iowa State. I think that's all that's left for the Big 12.
Yeah. And Iowa State, I don't know what kind of academic programs they have. That's usually kind of a stopping point for some of these conferences, like the Big Ten. So I don't know I don't pretend to know what Iowa State brings to the table academically. It would certainly athletically would make sense to give Iowa a natural rival. I don't think they need it, but it'd be nice to have.
Yeah, they play every year anyway. Yeah. It'd be interesting to see. I'm interested in Texas Tech and Oklahoma State in the Pac-12. The Pac-12 will get that long wanted Central Time Zone slot to where 11 a.m. kickoffs will become a thing that they can actually do and participate in a regular basis that will help the brand of the Pac-12 all over the country.
Because the Pac-12 was about in that zone where they had to do stuff creative, like Pac-12 After Dark.
Yeah.
Pac-12 at brunch, Pac-12 Friday nights, and I think that's, I think Fox is probably fired up about that. They get some teams in the middle of the country, and you got a couple of those Texas teams, and you got, maybe you can start making your divisions geographically east and west now instead of north and south. So because you incorporate kind of the Arizona schools with the Texas schools, Colorado and Utah, and then you get the entire West Coast as a division, and let's roll.
Yeah, it could be interesting. I want to see what it looks like with those guys in there. I think that the Big 12 opening up this talk of scheduling alliance with the Pac-12 is going to provide the access point to these major brands in the Big 12.
Yeah.
And like I said, I just think the big loser in this round of the Big 12 will be Baylor. Although it's kind of blessed, because without Andrew Richards, they don't get into the Big 12 to start with.
Exactly. And for Baylor and all the stuff that they've been going through, and the whole Art Briles systematic rape situations, it couldn't happen to a better university. So screw them.
Yeah. Did you know the president at Baylor at that time was Ken Starr? And do you know who Ken Starr is?
No.
He is the man that went after Bill Clinton way back in the day.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh. I was still very young, so I didn't know a whole lot of the players in that game. But wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Kenneth Starr.
Yeah. Karma
Kenneth
jumped
Starr.
up. Karma jumped up and bit them on that one.
Oh, it absolutely did. Wow. Yeah, what a dirtbag.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Christ. Oh, here we go. Isn't he at Liberty now? Isn't Liberty going through something similar?
No, the athletic director went to Liberty. I don't know his name, but he's there with Hugh Freeze, and that's a whole nother set of issues.
Does Ole Miss fans hate Hugh Freeze, or is it one of those things where like we liked him and we wish he didn't screw up?
I think we liked him and we wish he didn't screw up. Now Hugh had some problems, one of which was incredibly thin skin,
Yeah.
and because of that, he tried to do the retribution game, and
Hmm.
that didn't help him when it came to everything coming out.
Hmm.
Now, the whole situation with the Mississippi State journalist leading that investigation is just absolutely stupid.
Yeah. Now, do you think he's a phony because this whole facade he puts on, or I feel
Oh
like
yeah,
he's
oh yeah.
I feel like he-
I'm not a huge Hugh Freeze guy. Hugh was he had an office down the hall from me. He had an office right next to me for a little bit when I was at Ole Miss. So I dealt with him on a daily basis, and there was nobody that I just dreaded running into contact with than Hugh Freeze and Frank Wilson. Between those two, I mean, it was going to be bad news most of the time because they were both in competition to suck up to Ed Orgeron.
oh, jeez.
Yeah, it was one of those situations.
So they so did they ever wear shirts?
Yes, they did. I don't know if I told this on this program or if I told it on the other one or what's going on, but we had a dog pile.
Yeah, yeah. I remember this. Yeah,
Yeah,
you told it on this show.
okay. If
Yeah.
I tell that show, I'm not going to tell it again, but that's the one time, like Coach O just stopping everybody and yelling at me for not ripping off my shirt was one of the most ridiculous things I've ever been through.
Yeah, that's weird. That's
Yeah,
strange. Yeah, you're asking grown men to rip their shirts off and dive on top of each other.
I will tell this story. We'll do a little bit of Coach O story time, right?
Okay.
Um,
Okay, go Tigers.
yeah, we're getting ready to play Alabama, and this was in 2006. And we're getting ready to get on the bus. We're probably 30 minutes, 45 minutes from getting on the bus.
Mm-hmm.
And part of my job was to create the motivational videos for the team.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at the 30-minute, 45-minute range, Coach O comes in and says he wanted Rocky Balboa saying "Cut me, Mick" to that whole scene from the first Rocky movie
Mm-hmm.
to show up in the video. So from there, he didn't understand that we were about to get on the bus and this takes time, but that's what he wanted.
Yeah.
So we went into scramble mode to try and find a video store. This is before video stores completely shut down, but right about the time where they were. To find a video store in Oxford, Mississippi that had the original Rocky. So we found a copy of that movie and got it in. Long story short, they held up the bus for like 20 minutes to go that we were busing down to Tuscaloosa so that we could get that tape and cut it in and bring it in. It was my fault that we were late because he wanted that to go on to the motivational video. And then he showed it. There was next to no reaction. And we went on to Alabama, and I think we lost that game in overtime. But they cut me Mick, and the whole thing was just utter ridiculousness that
Yeah.
basically ruined the whole motivational based off a movie clip that he just wanted in it. So it was bizarre.
It is bizarre. Like, why not just let you do your thing?
Yeah, just let me do my thing and don't worry so much about little things, especially the cut me mix scenario because it made no sense. That's the worst part about this whole thing. Whenever you watch the video, there was just a random thing. It would be like watching a motivational video and a SpongeBob clip popped up. That's how jarring it was. But it was something that he wanted, and we did it.
Yeah. Sometimes you just got to do it, and of course, you probably took the L for it, like Steve. What was that? I bet P Willie came up to you like, "Yo, Steve, that video sucked."
No, he did not. But I have another Pete Willis story that I will share later on SEC After Dark.
Yes.
He once yelled on me and warned me not to cheat on my wife when I wasn't cheating on my wife.
Yeah. It
So
probably helped you not cheat on your wife ever and not even
yeah,
think about it.
yeah. If P. Willie's in Becky's corner, I was definitely doing the right thing by not cheating on her.
Yeah, because you don't want to die for that, do you?
Yeah, yeah.
Not
Because
not
you can't outrun P. Willie, you can't
no.
outpower P. Willie. Yeah, I mean it would have been all she wrote.
Yeah, Steve, see, we're not doing this podcast if you cheat on your wife and P. Willie kills you.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I wouldn't want to get into a fight with like Dexter McCluster, who was on that same team. He was a little 5'8", 5'9", 170-pound guy.
Dude played like 8 years in the NFL.
Yeah, I wouldn't even mess with him. So yeah, I'm not gonna mess with those guys.
No, those guys are professional athletes at the end of the day. So,
Yeah.
you know what else is absurd? Speaking of absurd things, Dan Campbell, he's making headlines for everything except football.
Okay, what's going on?
Uh, One of his latest headlines is from his latest press conference that is about his order from Starbucks.
Oh,
He orders 2 venti coffees with 2 espresso shots in each. That's 1,100 milligrams of caffeine. That's the equivalent of drinking 10 Red Bulls every single morning.
so that's like the coffee equivalent of an Irish car bomb.
Yes.
It's absolutely nuts.
Yeah. His heart's going to explode.
Yeah, yeah. I'm convinced that we don't know what energy drinks and that those caffeine things. We don't know the long term thing on that. Everybody talks about vaccines, about we don't know. We don't know about what this leads to and the long term damage that could cause from it. And I tried the 5 hour energy and I just didn't like what it made me feel like.
Made you feel jittery.
Yeah, yeah, and I just didn't like that, and I can't imagine that much caffeine is good for a person.
No, and the thing I like about Avocare Spark is, I don't know long term what it's going to do, but like anything with caffeine, you just don't know. But I don't think there's a dangerous amount of caffeine in there. It's a very gradual, like you don't even realize that you're just not tired all of a sudden, and you don't. It's not jolting. It's not like I'm half asleep and then I wake up. It's more of like an extended release type thing. You drink it like coffee. It tastes good. And then it's very gentle. Like, yeah, I don't even know. Like there's no hard crash. It's just kind of like you just kind of run your day. And you don't have you only have to drink one. You don't have to like people that are coffee holics, like that drink 4 or 5 cups a day in the morning. You don't have to do that with this.
No.
So if you want some spark, just DM me. I'll get
That'd be Coach Burton 36. He can hook you up with that.
I got you covered. So yeah. In other SEC news, Trey Smith. I know you're going to be shocked here. Surprise, surprise. Dominating at Chiefs camp.
Trey Smith, the Tennessee offensive lineman.
Yes.
Yeah, I only worry about what's going to happen to him physically down the road. He seems to have a chronic condition. It's not his fault, but it's something that people need to worry about.
Yeah, absolutely. And Azeez Ojulari, obviously doing really well in Giants camp. Apparently, Mark Webb, a 7th-round draft pick out of Georgia, one of the 9 defensive backs. Exaggerate that number a little bit, but he was one of the 9 draftees that got picked in the NFL. 7th rounder, apparently making waves in Chargers camp.
Yeah, any Georgia defensive back, just like Otis Reese, if you can see that, you can just count on those guys.
Otis, my man Reese.
Yeah,
was what we called him.
Yeah, any player that's playing in the Georgia defensive backfield, you can count on those guys to be good players. You just can, because Kirby Smart knows how to evaluate them. He knows how to develop them.
Yeah, exactly. And people say otherwise. They just need to look at Stokes. Mark Webb is the latest example. Like, come on, DeAndre Baker, for all the trouble he got in when he got into the league. He was a middle of the pack guy when Kirby got there. Kirby inherited him from Mark Richt, from the Mark Richt teams, and he came in and he gets picked in the first round 2 years after Kirby had his hands on him. So it's definitely a thing. If you play DB at University of Georgia, you're gonna do well.
Yeah, absolutely. We're at like an hour and 5 minutes. We probably need to shut it down for the night. We want to thank everybody for tuning in today. For Corey Burton, I'm Steve Willis, and we'll see you next week, and we should have a lot of fun.
Cheers.